Hey guys! Did you miss my voice? Well, I'm back into making top lists. This time, I'm going to show you the top 10 best and worst final bosses I've faced in video games. As usual, the restrictions are one game per franchise and only from games I played. So if you won't see a final boss you've seen on other top lists, it's because I didn't finish that game or never played it. Also, this list contains spoilers, so be aware. With that said, let's begin. Number 5. Best. Dr. Cortex from Crash Bandicoot 3.
Crash Bandicoot for the last time! Give the crystals to me!
Kicking off the list is a final battle between an evil scientist and his creation. The main challenge in this battle is not Cortex himself, but rather the two masks, Aku Aku and Uka Uka, fighting in the center of the room. You need to avoid their laser beam, crazy spins, and freaking explosions as you wait for an opportunity to strike Cortex. This final battle is definitely better than those from the previous Crash games, and it also has a nice music theme running in the background. Another good thing is that upon knocking Cortex off his platform, you can spin attack him for as long as you want until you toss him into the hole below to deal actual damage. For added bonus, if you beat Cortex again after collecting all gems, you get a priceless scene where two baby scientists are struggling over Uka Uka.
It is difficult to say what has happened to our enemies, but I doubt we will see them for a long time.
Number 4. Best. Optimus Prime / Megatron, Transformers Fall of Cybertron.
This universe, no matter how vast, will never be big enough for you and I to coexist.
War for Cybertron was a great Transformers game. It had a lot of things fans love, even some cool final bosses in form of Omega Supreme and Triptychon. However, we never saw Optimus Prime and Megatron fighting personally. The clash between the leaders of the two factions would have been a nice final boss battle. Thankfully, Fall of Cybertron gives us such battle, and man! Is it epic or what? Before the battle starts, you get to choose whether you want to play as Optimus or Megatron, and the actual battle, while straightforward and simple, is still impressive. You use two buttons to attack with sword, one to defend yourself, and a dodging maneuver if Megatron tries shooting you / Optimus tries to ram you. Plus, after dealing enough damage, quick time events.
You're as soft as the weaklings you fight for!
Look at them! They don't hold back anything! They know this could be their last battle, so why not go out in style? Not to mention those witty comments exchanged during the fight.
Not bad for a librarian. Perhaps you should have spent more time in the pit. And perhaps you should have spent more time in the library.
Did I mention that while they are fighting, everything is collapsing around and it almost feels like the end of the world as we know it? In space! This is how the final battle from Transformers the movie could look like if it was made today. It's dynamic, it's showy, it's awesome, and definitely deserves a mention on any final boss battle top list. Number 3. Best. Ripto from Spyro 2. I know I said it a few times, but I'll say it again. Spyro 2 was one of the games that defined my childhood. Beautiful graphics, great gameplay, nice sound, and an absolutely kick-ass 3-phase final boss battle. It goes like this. Hunter flies around the arena dropping orbs that you and Ripto can pick up. Whoever gets 3 gains a temporary power-up, be it a Super Flame, Super Charge, or green gas cloud thingy. If you defeat Ripto with these, he summons an armored gulp out of nowhere and the second phase begins. This is even easier than the first, since Gulp doesn't run away when you get powered up. Also, one of his attacks, the giant humming fireball, can actually be turned against him. In fact, most attacks are relatively easy to avoid, but they look showy nonetheless. Then, there is the third phase, where Spyro and Ripto fight over a lake of lava. This is like the final boss of Ace Combat 0. 6 years earlier. The only thing missing is Ripto throwing said final boss's quotes.
Can you see the borders from here? What does borders give us? Now we find out who's number 1.
Despite my love for this battle, there are 2 factors that prevent me from placing it any higher. 1. I don't like the music in this fight. 2. Ripto refused to stay dead. Number 2, Best. Semnast from Kingdom Hearts 2.
Anger and hate are supreme.
Oh man, what can I say about this battle that wasn't already said by fellow countdown makers? Let's do a short summary. It starts with Sora jumping through and slicing buildings into pieces, followed by dodging huge lasers, fighting baddies, fighting a giant dragon, flying through the air, confronting Semnast on his throne, and finally, the duel in Absolute Void. It has pretty much everything you could ask from a good final battle in an action RPG, including flash step-based area fight. At one point, you take control of Riku when Semnast starts draining Sora's heart. Using limited action, you must get to him and save him, only to survive a nearly endless barrage of laser beams and finish Semnast off with a beam of light. Yeah, this final battle is awesome, and definitely better than the one in the first game, mainly because you don't have to worry about awkward controls.
Drat! I've been foiled by the power of love!
Number 1, Best. Egg Negawiz from Sonic Colors. Are you surprised? You could have seen it coming, but the best final boss on my list would be from Sonic franchise. But why this one? 4 words. Dr. Robotnik/Eggman. Yes, he is the final boss for the first time in Sonic 3D games. Not some Eldritch abomination like Perfect Chaos, Solaris, or Perfect Dark Gaia. It's just a blue hedgehog against a mad scientist. And while they are using powers of the wisps, it's still a personal duel. For the first phase, you dodge Eggman's attacks. These includes laser beams, rolling spikes, and giant cubes, in an attempt to get close to him in order to attack. When you hit him a few times, the music stops, then switches to an orchestral arrangement of the game's main theme. You know, that catchy pop song Reach for the Stars? Yeah, it's now an orchestra of epicness. I don't know about you, but I was singing the lyrics while fighting. And finally, after Eggman is defeated, it's time for a decisive blow.
Unlimited colors! Laser! Drill! Space! Rocket! Hammer! Frenzy! Final color blaster!
Exactly.
Sega, in my eyes, you have redeemed the Sonic franchise. You've done it. You've it gave me not only a great game, but also a great final battle between Sonic and Eggman. So, what else can I say? It has great music, it plays great, it's intense, it's a fight between the hero and his nemesis, and it's my favorite final boss battle. So, you've seen the best, but now you'll see the worst. Let's get to it. Number 5. Worst. Dracula from Castlevania II. Castlevania series have a long tradition of great boss battles, and most final boss ones, but not the one from Simon's Quest. Dracula has only one form, you can easily kill him using the golden knife, the flame, or power up with Laurel and whip like crazy. Every time he's hit, he stops for a moment, giving you time to land another blow. This version of Dracula kinda feels like a letdown after all you've gone through in the game. You want to know how bad this final boss is? In game universe, it's been 7 years since the last fight against Dracula. However, Symphony of the Night takes place 4 years after Rondo of Blood, and the final battle against Dracula in that game is more challenging. Wasn't the fact that the more years it takes for Dracula to resurrect, the stronger he becomes? Number 4. Worst. Overlord Gaia from Digimon World 2. There's another game of my childhood. Hours upon hours spent on capturing Digimon, combining them, exploring dungeons, and dwelling into the story to become the best. And what do I get for a final boss? A huge cyborg monster named Overlord Gaia. By this point of the game, your team will most likely consist of 3 Mega Digimon with several good attack techniques already developed. If you add in some assists to boost your stats and attacks that lower opponents' attributes, you can beat Overlord Gaia without breaking a sweat. On top of that, the boss itself doesn't have any dangerous attack techniques, nothing that causes confusion or paralysis. Maybe if he had those, it would be more challenging. But probably not. Actually, the final dungeon, Chaos Tower, is more difficult than the final boss. It's that bad! Number 3. Worst. Shao Kahn from the new Mortal Kombat. Now, don't get me wrong, I like this game, and I'd roughly enjoy it with my friends. But unfortunately, the final boss story mode... You may think that after watching a cutscene when Raiden gets powered up by the Elder Gods themselves, we're in for an epic showdown. But no, this Shao Kahn is pretty much the same as the one you fight at the end of arcade mode, only this time you are forced to play as Raiden. Projectile spamming doesn't work since those of Shao Kahn are faster. Trying to fight Kahn normally will result in a painful defeat. The only sure way to beat Kahn is to use an easy but tedious strategy. Wait for Kahn to throw his hammer, then teleport, uppercut him, jump away, wait for Kahn to throw his hammer, teleport, uppercut, rinse and repeat. I'm sorry, but I was expecting something, I don't know, better? Because of his cheap AI and yet a simple way to abuse it, I no longer consider my favorite villain to be Shao Kahn.
Enough!
Thanks, Raiden. Number 2. Worst. Bowser from Super Mario Galaxy 2. Epic music? Check. Great visuals? Check. Laughably easy final boss? Super check. Yeah, that's all about it. I think Bowser from the first Super Mario Galaxy was more challenging. Enough said. And the worst final boss I've faced in video games is... Yu Yevon from Final Fantasy X. Expecting Sephiroth, were you? Well, no. Taking the top spot on the worst part of the list is a final boss that you can lose to if you will try to lose. Yu Yevon has 99,999 HP. That's the amount of damage you can deal with a physical attack if you evolve your characters properly and or have at least one ultimate weapon fully unlocked. So yeah, just like Sephiroth, you can kill him with a single attack. But wait, there's more! Since this final boss is not immune to status effects, you can attempt to infect him with zombie and watch as he slowly starts killing himself by repeatedly casting Curaga on himself every time he suffers damage. Still not convinced that this is the worst final boss? How about the fact you can't die during this fight? Your characters have permanent auto life, and if they lose all HP, they immediately spring back to life. The only way to lose against Yevon is to deliberately cast petrification spells on your team. But let's be honest, who wants to do that? Probably the only good thing about this battle is, like in Bowser's case, a great music that plays in the background. But you probably won't hear too much of it. Best thing to do is to inflict Yevon with zombie, then sit back and listen to the music until he kills himself. To many people who played Final Fantasy X, Braska's final Aeon is considered to be the actual final boss, and Yevon is simply there to wrap up the plot. But unfortunately, Yevon is still the last opponent we fight in the game, and is therefore considered by me to be the worst final boss I ever faced in video games. I am the Polish Bowser, and it's good to be back.
Hey guys, take care!